begins formal transition activities ahead of return to democratic governance. The federal government begins consultation with relevant stakeholders on how to end open grazing in the country, beginning with the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, gives a tearful address after he was fatally shot at a Utah University campus.
And on business, the bulls make a comeback this week as the Nigeria's equities markets climbed more than 1%, with stocks like eTransact, Regency Assurance gaining big.
On sports news tonight, as the starts of the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup approaches, Flying Eagles coach Aliyu Zubairu is confident his team will qualify from their group.
Politics. The summit of Southern and Northern Caucus of former legislators have endorsed President Bola Tinubu for a second term in office come 2027. Rising from the summit in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, delegates say this has become imperative in the interest of unity, justice, and fairness. They also challenge leaders and Nigerians to have a sense of responsibility towards supporting the current reforms in critical sectors of the nation's economy.
About 400 participants, which include former legislators from the southern parts of the country and the northern caucus, attended the event held at the Cultural Center in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, convened by the Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Femi Gbajabiamila. The summit had in attendance former presidents of the Senate, Ken Nnamani, Patricia Olubumiete, Yakubu Dogara, the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, members of the Federal Executive Council, among other distinguished personalities. In his address, Governor Abiodun described the summit as a platform to engage in a dialogue on critical national issues.
I consider this summit a timely and vital platform for seasoned legislators, policymakers, and leaders to reflect, re-engage, and recommit to the future of our nation. At a time when Nigeria is undergoing profound political, economic, and social transformation, unity and continuity remains not just a moral imperative, but a strategic necessity.
The convener of the event and Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu seized the occasion to enlist the support of all former legislators and other Nigerians for President Tinubu's re-election bid.
Now let's take that principle that we all start with while we're in the chambers, outside, into the real world, so we can stay united and keep Nigeria united. Let's work together, we and for our president.
Some former principal officers of the National Assembly also lent their voices to the call to build a nation that works for all.
Let us rise from here with the undying resolve to build a nation that stands not just on maps, but as a testament to the world of what the unity in diversity can truly accomplish. A united and prosperous Nigeria is possible only if we work to bring it to be.
Just to have these people at the level of affairs, we should all be happy, we should be ready to support them and make sure that they succeed. And that is one of the cardinal reasons why we're here today.
If we all come together as we have started doing now, the country will witness faster development efforts and make suggestions that will help in making our government do a better job. And the government in turn will look around and see the welfare those that have served, but they are not serving at this moment. So it's left hand washing the right hand, and right hand washing the left hand.
While speakers at the summit commended President Tinubu for his purposeful leadership and current reforms in critical sector of the nation's economy, they also believe that there is room for improvement.
6 months after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, the administrator, Ibo Etebas, has begun formal transition activities ahead of the return to democratic governance. The process will begin tomorrow, September the 14th, with an interdenominational Thanksgiving service at the Ecumenical Center in Port Harcourt, expected to draw permanent secretaries, security chiefs, traditional rulers, captains of industries, and other dignitaries. After receiving the report of the August 30th local government election, Mr. Ibo Etebas said the presidential mandate given to him on March the 18th had been fulfilled and expressed gratitude to security agencies, civil servants, community leaders, and residents for their cooperation during the period. The leadership of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, believes that the recent legal actions and comments are sponsored by those who destroyed political opposition in the country. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, stated this at a news conference in Abuja. He was speaking about the recent reactions by some aggrieved ADC members on the recognition of the David Mark-led leadership by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
We are politicians, and in politics only few doors are permanently closed. And we also know that we are playing a game of number, and that number is addition, not subtraction. So we'll be happy to talk to anyone who is willing to talk. Anyone that has, we have people, even those within the leadership, the rank of the leadership that voluntarily resigned their position. We had people who had expressed one grievances or another, and we have managed to recognize their grievances, legitimate grievances, and we have dealt with those. But when people are just being belligerent, to the extent that you have no reason to doubt that they had ulterior motive, which is to destabilize the party and filibuster and create a condition that make it difficult for the party to move forward, then we can't continue to appease those kind of people. Don't forget, this was the same thing that was done to PDP. This was the same thing that was done to Labour Party. This was the same thing that was done to SDP. And the same agents that were driving this, the same forces that were driving this, that are also driving these particular individuals. The person that went to court, with due respect, I'm very confident that I know him. I'm very confident that he doesn't have the resources to push this. So who is funding it?
So other matters now. The federal government has begun consultation on how to end open grazing in the country, beginning with the Federal Capital Territory. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Livestock Development stated this at a stakeholders meeting with Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association in Abuja. The meeting was attended by herders and the Sultan of Sokoto, who stressed the urgent need for their children to be enrolled in schools.
Members of the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, officials of the federal government, and the Sultan of Sokoto are attending this stakeholders meeting in Abuja. The meeting aims to address the issues of out-of-school children as well as open grazing in the Federal Capital Territory.
You have, let's say, a certain number of head of cattle. In the morning, you attach a child to shepherd these cattle to go and graze. But in the whole of the entire Ruga that you are staying, there are quite a number of children that are supposed to go to school. And we feel that there's a need for us to talk to you to understand that you can also get an adult to shepherd these children to school and back.
Now they want to set up a committee to look at all the issues affecting our Marjorie and out-of-school children. Yesterday, we were in Sokoto to discuss how to solve this same problem. This matter affects us and our children. We have to make progress. We have to put all our children in school.
This engagement with pastoralists is one of the ongoing efforts by the federal government to end open grazing in the country, and focus is on reviving grazing reserves in the Federal Capital Territory and use it as a pilot for others.
We want to make Abuja a model. I want to start practicing it here and see how it is going to work for us. So you can see we have invited all the stakeholders, the leadership of Miyetti Allah, from the 6 area councils, the ARPOs, and those families whose cows are roaming the city center. We all invited them to hear from them. Let's know what are the problems that is bringing them into the city, and how can we stop this.
I remember one of the members mentioned the issue of livestock moving around in Abuja. But first, we must first solve the issue of the grazing reserves. We must provide. We are working on ranches. One, we are working on SAPZ zones, special agro processing zones. We are working on reviving the grazing reserves. We are also working on providing ranches, feed and fodder ranches, whereby pastoralists can find a safe zone to operate, to live and coexist, and they will have access to all the basic amenities that they need.
Participants at this meeting are hoping that the resolutions reached will, in the long run, help to address the challenges associated with open grazing, as well as that of out-of-school children.
Meanwhile, the federal government has also restated its commitment to address security challenges arising from clashes between farmers and herders through the development of grazing reserves. The Minister of Livestock Development, Mr. Mukhtar Meha, stated this at the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding with the Rural Electrification Agency in Abuja. He said the development of 417 grazing reserves across the country will not only boost yield, but improve security in host communities.
The leadership of the Rural Electrification Agency is holding this strategic meeting with the Ministry of Livestock Development for a partnership to grow the sector. The Partnership for Clean Energy aims to boost agricultural productivity through solar-powered irrigation and processing. The effort targets underserved communities with huge economic potential to have access to sustainable clean energy.
One of the critical things that we are working to ensure is providing electricity to unserved and underserved. And most of the work that this Ministry of Livestock Development is doing, it's within this catchment area. Wherever this ministry is going to establish grazing reserve or create a cluster of livestock development, we will be there to provide the electricity to ensure that we do not only power the community, but we catalyze development of livestock, which by extension will catalyze economic development.
The high point of the engagement is the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. In his remarks, the Ministry of Livestock Development restates the commitment of the federal government to develop the sector, describing it as one of the solutions to farmer-herder clashes.
This MOU is a testament to our commitment to work together towards a common goal. By providing solar-powered grids to these reserves upon their rehabilitation and resettlement, we are laying the foundation for a more secure, productive, and peaceful future for our country. This is a non-kinetic measure to restore peace in the countryside. The provision of clean, renewable energy will have a transformative impact. It will power irrigation systems, enabling year-round access to fodder and water for livestock, thereby improving the quality of our herds.
According to the ministry, Nigeria has 417 grazing reserves across the country, and the development of these underserved communities will enhance security and food production.
In part 2, after the break, Edo State government encourages its citizens to explore alternative dispute resolution channels available in its mediation center. That's in a moment. Join us again. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A quick recap of our top stories. Ex-legislators meet in Abuja to endorse President Bola Tinubu for a second term in office. River State Sole Administrator Edo State begins formal transition activities ahead of return to democratic governance. The federal government begins consultation with relevant stakeholders on how to end open grazing in the country, beginning with the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, gives a tearful address after he was fatally shot on a Utah University campus. Access to justice is a fundamental human right, yet many citizens face significant barriers when seeking legal assistance. The Edo State government, through its Ministry of Justice, has encouraged citizens to explore alternative dispute resolution channels through its Citizens' Rights Department and Mediation Center, which are dedicated to promoting access to justice and resolving disputes at no cost. Our correspondent Jessica Olubusere has this report.
Presence of courts, including the High Court on Saple Road in Benin City, the Edo State capital, remains a constant assurance to residents that justice is accessible. The Edo State government, recognizing the critical responsibility of ensuring that all citizens have access to justice, regardless of income, social status, or location, has, through the Ministry of Justice, introduced key initiatives to achieve this goal. One of such is the Citizens' Rights Department and the Citizens Mediation Center. The State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Samson Osagi, provides more insight.
We also have the Department of Citizens' Rights. This department was formed in order to ensure that citizens who do not have the needed wherewithal, in other words, indigent citizens who cannot afford the cost of litigation in matters that affect their interest, particularly in matter of civil rights, have opportunity to come before us.
He reveals that over 50 cases have been successfully mediated by the Citizens Mediation Center within less than 1 year of Governor Monday Okpewolu's administration. The cases range from breaches of contracts, family disputes, employment matters, to child welfare issues, among others.
Our intervention is pro bono here. We do not charge such citizens. We bring the parties they complain against together to try and make them, settle their issues amicably. And they ranges from issues of domestic violence among couples, issues of landlord and tenant dispute, marital issues regarding custody and welfare, even financial disputes, land disputes, and so on and so forth. So a good number of those cases, over 101, have been concluded in the last 7 months.
Channels Television took to the streets to sample opinions of residents on the impacts of the Citizens' Rights Department and the Mediation Center.
I'm very, very glad if the State Ministry of Justice is trying to create an awareness and create an avenue of they mediating in conflicts. It's a welcome development.
When there is any problem, maybe between husband and wife, between landlords, between whosoever, and is handled in a very simple way without stress of going to court or postponement and the rest of those stuff. I think that way is better and it's more easier and more cheaper.
For the State Ministry of Justice, disputes need not linger or escalate, as it remains committed to promoting access to justice and resolving conflicts amicably, alongside its core mandate of upholding the rule of law and protecting human rights. Jessica Olubusere, Channels Television News.
Investigation has been launched into the death of the former SDP governorship candidate in Ondo State, Mr. Bamidele Akimboye. Detectives of the Lagos State Police Command paid a visit to the family house in Victoria Garden City area of Lagos, where the incident occurred. Speaking exclusively with Channels Television, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Dari Jumo, explained that detectives have been mandated to find out how he died.
The Special Police Unit within the State's Criminal Investigation Department, Kpanti Yaba Lagos, is deployed on a mission. They head to a crime scene within the metropolis. The location is a conspicuous building in the VGC area of Ajah the residence of former Edo State SDP governorship candidate Bamidele Akinboye. Homicide detectives arrived to unravel the unknown cause of death of the head of the Akinboye family. Grief is evident among family members, while domestic aides also appear heartbroken. They gather around investigators, recounting the last moments spent with their father. The scene of the incident is cordoned off. Detectives unbox forensic tools to collect physical evidence and biological samples.
We have to investigate deeply to know the circumstances surrounding his death, because he's somebody that was hale and healthy, and we got the complaint that his body was found within the compound, and this is somebody that was believed to have slept in his dwelling house with his family. All these circumstances needed to be properly investigated.
Samuel Akinboye, the eldest son of the family, told Channels Television that he has called for a thorough investigation by the police to uncover the mystery surrounding his father's death.
I saw him the day before, so it's very, very shocking just to see this happen. So, that's why I opened the case to know how he died, because I wasn't getting any explanation, and it's been just very tough, to be honest. And I just want to do the best by him, know how he died. There has to be an explanation, and that explanation is what we're all looking for.
I urge the public to debunk everything that's been posted on blogs, on social media. Everything is not the truth. I believe that the police is currently carrying out an investigation, which I believe they'll carry out diligently. The truth will surely come to light. The whole family stands behind the police. And yes,
we are not going to leave any stone unturned to ensure that we get to the root of the cause of his death. And where there's any reasonable suspicion that some people are involved, we ensure that such individuals are apprehended.
Detectives exit the scene with collected samples for further analysis, as the result of the autopsy is still being awaited. Meanwhile, invitations have been extended to some key occupants of the house for questioning. It's now left for all parties to cooperate with homicide detectives as they work to establish the true cause of Bamidele Akinboye's death.
One person has been confirmed dead and 4 people rescued from the rubble of a 3-story building under construction in the Aba area of Lagos State, which caved in on Friday night. This was confirmed in a statement today by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, via its official X handle. The agency said teams from the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, as well as other responders, quickly mobilized to the scene and commenced search and rescue operations. However, the exact number of people still trapped is yet to be confirmed. Still in Lagos, the state has reached a decisive phase in its ambition to shift from high-burden malaria burden to pre-elimination status. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu made this comment at the midterm review of the pathway to malaria pre-elimination in Victoria Island. He stressed the importance of accountability, data transparency, and community ownership in the ongoing campaign to completely eradicate malaria from Lagos State and the country.
To formally come to the bank now, unveil this pre-elimination launch of malaria from Lagos State.
In March 2025, the Lagos State government launched the Pathway to Malaria Pre-Elimination and Digitization Program to reduce malaria prevalence in the states. 6 months later, the state government is holding the midterm review of Pathway to Malaria Pre-Elimination to analyze the progress of the health project.
We see here
that within the CP, we had it by RDT, we had the parasite confirmed rate of 4%.
Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Aki Abayomi, provides a detailed scientific account of the state's malaria data trajectory, revealing that Lagos is now firmly in pre-elimination phase with prevalence around 1%.
Our data is showing that our prevalence has dropped dramatically. This reflects a dramatic decline over the last 5 to 10 years. And we're now hovering in the 1%, which means that Lagos is now either above the pre-elimination or in the pre-elimination phase.
With the record achieved so far, the World Health Organization WHO says it is willing to offer technical guidance on global best practices that will help eliminate malaria in Lagos.
We will be together until we reach the vision of malaria elimination in Lagos.
For the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, who joined virtually, describes digital integration of community pharmacies as a game changer in bridging the gaps in Nigeria's healthcare system.
This achievement represents a significant milestone in our efforts to bridge the gap in malaria service delivery in Nigeria. PPMBs and CPs, who are often the first point of contact for individuals seeking medical assistance, have now been equipped with the necessary training, tools, and resources to effectively diagnose, treat, and refer malaria-negative cases to health facilities.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says Lagos has shifted from high malaria burden to pre-elimination status and must be sustained.
Today's midterm review should provide us a solid operational plan for the next quarter, identifying the hotspots for increased surveillance, by retraining the schedules of our private providers, by the metrics to track and test before treatment adherence, and a timeline for full integration that will ensure that our data into the state health dashboard we do not lose or miss anybody out.
Emphasis on tests before treatment continues in the state to prevent misdiagnosis and drug misuse in order to assist Lagos move from pre-elimination to full elimination of malaria.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the bulls made a comeback this week as Nigeria's equities market climbed more than 1%, with stocks like eTransact and Regency Assurance gaining big. That's on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back. For the country to attain greatness, citizens must live for something greater than themselves. The former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, made these comments while delivering the guest lecture at a memorial in honor of the Very Reverend Father Dennis Joseph Slattery, the founding father of St. Finbarr's College, Yaba, Lagos. The Old Boys Association also used the occasion to launch and raise funds for the proposed DJ Slattery Innovation and Technical Center. Our correspondent, Jollof, has this report.
It's a gathering of the old boys of St. Finbarr, their guests and family members, in a reunion to honor and pay their respect for the founding father of their school, the late Reverend Father Dennis Joseph Slattery, OON. Reverend Father Slattery was born in South Ireland in 1916. He was ordained priest in 1939 and began his missionary work in Ilawe-Ekiti, Nigeria in 1941. In 1956, he founded St. Finbarr's College, which became a benchmark for technical education in Nigeria. Widely celebrated for instilling values of sportsmanship, discipline, and morality in his students, and for his overall commitment to public good, Reverend Slattery lived an exemplary life. And the guest lecturer at this memorial lecture, former Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, drew parallels from the life of Father Slattery and some outstanding Nigerians to make a case for responsible elitism.
The question, of course, is what will we do with the privilege that you and I have?
We, the elite, cannot merely bask in the comfort of our own education, our positions, and our influence. To do so will be to betray the memory of those who labored and gave without thought or personal reward to us and to make us what we have become. We must decide whether we will be remembered as a generation that squandered privilege or as one that rose with courage to invest intellect, influence, and resources into causes larger than ourselves.
The event was also used to honor deserving old boys of the school with a Distinguished Conqueror Award for their positive contributions and generosity to the development of their alma mater.
For visual equity's sake, stand next to the Vice President.
Another major highlight of the event was the launch and fundraising for the proposed DJ Slattery Innovation and Technical Center.
It is not just about us, it is about the sacrifice that we are able to give, and that is what gives substance to our lives. And also these laudable projects that you have embarked upon. It is my prayer, which is also the prayer of the Archbishop, that what you have started, the good Lord will definitely bring it to a successful completion through Christ our Lord.
Why do we want to build that center? We had all those facilities, and we were the leading technical school in Nigeria for a long time. However, when the governments took over schools, all those things were run to the ground, which is why we are building from the ground up all over again. But we're building also, but we're adding to it, we're adding to the curricula robotics.
Next year, the school will mark its 70th anniversary, and the leadership of the Old Boys Association is hopeful that they will raise the required funds to complete the DJ Slattery Technical Center in time for the celebrations.
Insecurity in Katsina is taking a toll on the lives of the farmers and the state's economy as they are forced away from their lands. This has now led to low production, which has been worsened by high costs of farm inputs as well as other factors. As the farming season beckons, this next report looks at the impact of insecurity on farming activities in the state.
Katsina, a major farming and livestock producing state in Nigeria's northwest, is a region with a long history of trade and agriculture. It is a part of the northwest zone, sharing borders with Zamfara, Kano, Jigawa, and Kaduna states and the Republic of Niger. The state's economy is heavily reliant on agriculture, with key crops including millet, sorghum, maize, rice, groundnuts, and cotton, as well as significant livestock farming. Farming is a major occupation for many residents, contributing to its status as a key agricultural state. Climate change was a major impact on farming in the state. However, insecurity has added a new dimension to the situation. For 70-year-old farmer Umaru Bello, this year's farming season has been a blessing, but insecurity remains a major concern. However, he warns against the practice of hoarding food items, which he believes contributes to inflation and food insecurity.
We are really facing serious challenges of insecurity. We pray for peace, and we appreciate the efforts of the security forces. But this issue requires God's intervention. On the possible hike in food prices, I always blame business people who mostly hoard food items until after the prices got high. We pray for God to make it easy for all of us.
Not all farmers agree that insecurity will affect food prices.
Hoarding of food items is totally prohibited by God entirely. If not for one to keep it for his family consumption, most people are not in good terms with God. That's why they are feeling the pain of insecurity. I can access my farmland at any time of the day without any doubt.
Another farmer, Umar Lawal, believes that hoarding is the real culprit. Nevertheless, the state is promising to put in place efforts to mitigate the impact of insecurity on farming.
Currently, the government has put in place a committee that is now saddled with the responsibility of retracing and redemarcating those cattle routes in Katsina State, both the local cattle routes and then the national and then the international cattle routes. You see, we share a common border with Niger Republic. And with that, there are certain times when herders are coming from Niger Republic into Nigeria and even out of Nigeria. So they follow through a certain route. And we make sure that these routes are retraced and redemarcated.
You know, banditry is a very dangerous phenomenon that requires development of both kinetic and non-kinetic nature. And His Excellency, the Executive Governor, has sufficiently demonstrated his resolve to deal with banditry in all its ramifications. Investment of more than 36 billion naira has been made, and we are counting to deal with banditry. We have bought security assets. Katsina State is boasting to have the highest security assets in this part of the country. Maybe if we minus Borno State, that seems to be that in the theater of Boko Haram activities.
The farmers in Katsina State are entering the farming season with optimism, hoping that this year will give them improved yield and increased economic power.
For 70 years, the Federal Nigeria Society for the Blind has been touching lives and empowering people with visual impairment. To mark the milestone, the Society hosted a stakeholder conference in Lagos with the theme Vision Without Eyes, Striving for Excellence, bringing together families, partners and supporters to reflect on the journey and strengthen the push for inclusion and dignity.
It's been 70 years of service for the Federal Nigeria Society for the Blind, and the organization is marking the milestone with a stakeholders conference with the theme Vision Without Eyes, Striving for Excellence. The conference is designed to share the vision and journey of the society, work closely with partners, rally support for training, and stand firmly for inclusion and the rights of persons with visual impairment.
The cost of rehabilitating and training just one trainee in our 2-year residential program now stands at 1.5 million a year. The task of empowering the blind cannot be left to one organization alone. We need stronger industry collaboration.
Delivering the keynote address, Dr. Dere Awoshika commends the vision and commitment of the founders of the noble cause, emphasizing that the theme goes beyond physical sight.
Vision without eyes is both deep and instructive as well. It's challenging all of us in this room and beyond to look beyond physical sight while embracing vision as a higher human capacity to imagine possibilities, set goals, and pursue excellence despite limitations.
She explains further on areas of improvement.
The Disability Act of 2018 is a commendable step, but its implementation must be accelerated to ensure accessible infrastructure, inclusive education, and equal opportunity for employment for all.
Panel discussions focus on policy and medical perspectives, as well as family life and career support.
Unlike the national law, the law places the Lagos State LASODA under a ministry. Now, I am a public servant. You are going for promotion, for instance. Arrangement is not made for you as a visually impaired person. Is LASODA connected with the Civil Service Commission?
The policies are there, but I'm not sure they are developed to tackle the blindness, but they are more developed to tackle prevention and make sure that there is accessibility and affordability for our general populace.
For 7 decades, the Federal Nigeria Society for the Blind remained committed to rehabilitating and empowering the blind through its vocational training center in Oshodi, nurturing independence, skills, and dignity.
Time to find out what's happening in the world of business. Ladi Williams has details.
Thanks, Melinda. Well, in business news, the Minister of State for Industry, Mr. John, has been speaking on how the implementation of the Nigerian industrial policy will help improve the sector's contribution to the gross domestic product from less than 10% to about 25% by 2035. Mr. Eno was speaking at the ministerial panel at the Gastech conference in Milan, Italy. Explains that Nigeria is also positioning herself for investment in the industrial sector, promising protection for all investment. He also listed other measures being implemented to ensure that the nation's industrial sector thrives.
The contribution of industry and manufacturing to our GDP should go beyond what it is now, less than 10% to 25%. And we are determined to grow our economy, as upwards as that. And I think that, and the trust of that is on so many of these, inclusiveness. It's not just a policy. Nigeria is sending a message that we are determined to go beyond just being a resource-based country to a productive economy that is going to be competitive and innovative. And what we hope, is that, which is why at the beginning of this discussion, when you have such ambition that are as tall as that, you look at energy. The country's president, our president, has been a strong advocate of CNG and all of that, because that is what we're going to need to be able to power our economy and power our industries. Nigeria is Africa's largest population. Nigeria is a resource-based country. Nigeria's youths are amongst the most vibrant across the world. So Nigeria is there and is ready. Our president has traveled the entire world announcing to everybody that Nigeria is ready for business. Our president is an investment, business-minded president. So there is no better time in the history of Nigeria than now. So I call on the global community that, what are you waiting for? There is so much to do, and Nigeria is open, and Nigeria is ready, and so is the rest of Africa.
Fiscal policy now. The federal government's tax identification number policy is stirring fresh conversations across Nigeria's financial space. Beyond compliance, some experts believe the directive could trigger a wider shakeup in know your customer requirements, with millions of Nigerians likely needing to update their KYC documents. Earlier on Capital Market Show, I had a chat with Dr. Peter Adebola, MD CEO, Edgefield Capital Management, on the impact to existing and new investors.
And how will it affect the capital market? I think what we only need to do is to update the KYC document that we have our clients to fill. So we are going to incorporate that in the KYC document for all our clients. And this, I so much believe that with the tax ID included, because before now, BVN was not part of the KYC document, but later, government came up with our policy that everybody participating in the capital market must have BVN. And what he just did was to tell our clients, shareholders, that you have to submit your BVN and all the KYC documents are updated.
And bulls took charge on the trading floor this week as Nigeria's equities markets closed firmly in the green. The all-share index climbed 1.12% to settle at 140,545 points. pushing market capitalization to 88.9 trillion naira. Investor appetite was strong, with over 3.18 billion shares changing hands in nearly 133,000 deals. The value of trade surged almost 100 billion naira, underscoring interest in high-value stocks. Sectoral performance told the same bullish story, led by gains in oil and gas, insurance, banking, and industrial goods. E-Transact, Regency Assurance, and Chelarams emerged top gainers, while Union, Dickon Salt, and Thomas Wyatt led the laggards. And in most spotlight for most traded stocks, FCMB Group, Axis Holdings, Universal Insurance dominated activity. And that's it from me. Business is back to Belinda with the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Ladi. The Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, has announced that the 130-kilometer of the Kebbi corridor of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway is expected to be completed by the end of the year or next year. He made this known during a project inspection visit to the construction site in Birin Kebbi local government area of Kebbi State.
This is the Kebbi State section of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway, the largest project in the country, valued at over 1.8 trillion naira. The Minister of Works, Mr. Dave Umahi, alongside the Minister of State for Works, Mr. Bello Groyo, and the engineers from the ministry and the contracting firm are on site to ascertain the level of the project and make imputes where necessary. Speaking shortly after the tour, Mr. Umahi believes Northern Nigeria should appreciate President Bola Tinubu for actualizing a project that was conceived 47 years ago under the administration of late President Shehu Shagari.
This is a dream of 47 years back by the Shagari administration, and no any other leader, in the country even try, let it be that they could not take off. So for a man who is fulfilling the dreams of our founding fathers, he is keeping faith with destiny, and the history will judge him fairly. Mr. President is going to come maybe, by May. By May, we are checking to have completed a minimum of 50 kilometers. And by the end of next year, we would have completed 130 kilometers.
The minister also revealed that President Tinubu had fully approved and released funds for compensating individuals and communities whose lands were affected by the project.
I commend Mr. President, who is not joking with the compensation, of crops, and any other encumbrances on our right of way. Let me announce that we have released fully the money for the compensation on this corridor. But I directed that unless you have bank account, we will not pay. So if you don't have bank account, you have to go and open one account, because we won't be able to trace where we are paying the compensation both for today and tomorrow.
The Minister of State for Works explains that the road will link Ilela international markets and unlock massive business opportunities along the corridor.
We know we have Ilela international market. It's going to open a lot of business activities along this corridor, a stretch of over 1,000 kilometers, and of course it's linking Niger, Mali, Togo, and other neighboring countries. My appeal to the entire people of this community is to look at this project and reward Mr. President for what he has done to us.
The ministers were accompanied by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, Northwest and Southeast. The federal government's delegation appreciates the Kebbi State government for support towards the project, especially the procurement of vehicles for security agencies supervising the project in the state.
Hello and welcome to Sports News. I'm Kelly Egiga. Flying Eagles coach Aliyu Zubairu has expressed confidence that the team will qualify from its group at the upcoming Under-20 World Cup in Chile. Addressing newsmen at the team's hotel in Abuja, the coach revealed that despite some initial challenges, the team is now set to fly in Chile for the first game on September 29th. Let's turn to the English Premier League now, where Martin Zubimendi scored his first Arsenal goals as the Gunners comfortably defeated Nottingham Forest 3-0 to give Ange Postecoglou a defeat in his first game in charge. Bournemouth made the most of their superior quality to grind out a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Brighton at the Vitality Stadium. Elsewhere, Crystal Palace were held to a frustrating goalless draw by newly promoted side Sunderland at Selhurst Park. In other matches played earlier today, Everton played a goalless draw with Aston Villa at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. A dramatic Gabriel Goodmanson own goal in injury time handed Fulham a fortunate first league win of the season at the expense of Leeds United, and Nick Voltemade enjoyed a debut to remember after his bullet header helped Newcastle United end their wait for a first win of the season against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Tottenham beat 10-man West Ham 3-0, while Chelsea settled for a 2-2 draw with Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Now to Spain, where Barcelona coach Hansi Flick lashed out at the Spanish national team on Saturday after Lamine Yamal was ruled out of his team's La Liga clash against Valencia. The 18-year-old winger did not train with the Spanish champions because of a groin issue ahead of the game on Sunday, and is also a doubt to face Newcastle in the Champions League this Thursday. Yamal played twice for Spain in the 2026 World Cup qualifying wins against Bulgaria and Turkey last week. Giga is back to Melinda.
Many thanks, Kelly. On the international scene, the widow of Charlie Kirk, the U.S. right-wing activist who was killed during an open-air speaking event in Utah recently, has given a tearful address in her first comment since the death of her husband. Miss Erica Kirk thanked first responders for trying to save her husband's life after he was shot on a Utah University campus. In a live stream, standing beside her husband's empty chair used during his podcast tapings, she quoted the Bible and spoke about his love for their children, the president, his vice, and the United States. And finally tonight, Nigerian celebrity chef Hilda Bassi is about to laugh as she's cooking to complete the world record attempt for the largest pot of jollof rice in Lagos. Hilda Bassi completed her attempt during an 8-hour open cooking session on Victoria Island with more than 5 tons of rice, tomato paste, cooking oil, onions, and other ingredients to attempt the title for the biggest jollof dish ever made. The 28-year-old chef fed 20,000 people from a 6-meter-wide still pot, and there were the people who registered earlier to witness the grand finale. And the main news again. Ex-legislators today met in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, where they endorsed President Bola Tinubu for a second term in office. And that's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Akinwami on behalf of the team. Good night.
Resident doctors in Abuja and Oyo State embarked on a strike action during the week, citing poor working conditions and issues with remuneration. A few days later, the National Association of Resident Doctors embarked on a 5-day nationwide warning strike. What are their demands? And what will happen to access to health care all across the country in the days ahead? We address these issues with my guest tonight on Dateline Abuja.